All right, hey guys, how you doing today? This is Shane. I'm here with a pretty big vinyl update for you. Pretty damn big. And so let's just get into it. I have a lot to show you. These are records and CDs and cassettes I picked up from Tampa, and none that were from Record Store Day. Fuck Record Store Day. I've had my fill of Record Store Day, and I think I'm done with it. So let's get into it. These first few items, not a lot, from Mojo's Books and Records in Tampa. Pretty good little record store. Yeah, I had my hair down. Just because I'm too damn lazy to put it in a hair tie. But this is what I picked up. One CD, Transvision Vamp, and this is Velveteen. Transvision Vamp is an interesting band. I think I want to say are they a British band? I think they are. And this is a 1989 release. Kind of new wave, kind of catchy, sort of power pop, but not really power pop. College rock, I guess, for its time. It is rock. I think they've been compared unfavorably to Blondie, but only just because I don't think they sound specifically like Blondie. But very catchy, pretty irresistible, sort of little pop rock from the late 90s. They definitely sprinkled in with some new wave on the Uni label. So good stuff. Few albums. Really early Dawn in Tony Orlando. That's right, with What Are You Doing Sunday? So why did I get Tony Orlando and Dawn? One reason. If you watch the show, you already fucking know what that is, probably. It's on Bell Records. That's right. Um, I'm a huge fan of Bell Records, and this is um, sort of. I'm trying not to be so close in, but that's just how it's going to have to be for this one. Definitely kind of more bubblegum popish, I think. And this is kind of the earlier era of Tony Orlando and Dawn. And I always kind of like these guys. They're cheesy, early 70s, sort of infectious pop, but it is what it is. So I'm certainly happy to have this in my collection. Anything on Bell Records, I pick up. So this isn't quite like, I guess, where they're going to be yet, but they're kind of, it's transitional, developing their sound kind of stuff. One of their earlier albums. And I don't know that where this stands on the discography of it. Men at Work, Business as Usual. I've had this album multiple times. This is another copy. This is something I can sell at record shows. And a lot of these records I'm going to show you are really cheap, and I'm going to sell them on the Columbia label, their first album. I think pretty too unfavorably compared to another new wave band from the early 80s, The Police. I do see some similarities, but I think this band is more like, to me, they're kind of like a pub rock band, like a bar band with some art rock tendencies. Definitely new wave, definitely quirky. And I feel kind of criminally underappreciated in a way, because their music is just super catchy and goofy in a way, but very, very. Some of the songs on here, especially the last track, "Down by the Sea," is absolutely gorgeous. So there's some musicality with Men at Work. Of course, they're known for their big novelty hits, "Who Can It Be Now" and "Down Under," which are on here, along with "Be Good Johnny," which is another great song. But yeah, if you want early 80s new wave, really go no farther than this. But there is a sort of art rock, sort of pub rock feel to this band as well. And I feel like Men at Work are one of those groups that are just criminally underappreciated. They're known for their hits, and that's kind of it. This is awesome. BTO Street Action. That's right. Yes, that cover is fuzzy. It's not me. It's not the camera. Without Randy Bachman, C.F. Turner sings most of the vocals on this. Kind of trying to get sleazy and street rockish. I guess if that's even a term, with songs like Street Action and Madison Avenue, you know. But yeah, I kind of love me some Bachman Turner Overdrive, or BTO. There's still Robbie Bachman in the band. So 1978 release on Phonogram Records. Good stuff right here. And the last thing I picked up at Mojo's, and I'm kind of showing these. I could show this later, but I'm just going to show it now. Is this record was $22. I was looking at Record Store Day stuff. I didn't see anything I really wanted except for the first Stranglers record, and I kind of was like, I don't want to spend that much money. It was like $30. I kind of was trying to look for a $25 record, and this one was $22. Echo and the Bunnymen with Ocean Rain. Great album by this wonderful band. Definitely have nuanced their sound more, like that Doors psychedelic worship that they had on their first album. It's kind of still there, but not like, I don't know. This has a lot more like, to me, a dark wave feel to it. And what I think I can appreciate more is a dark wave look to this, feel to this. So, and it's got their masterpiece song on there for most people, The Killing Moon. So, Echo and the Bunnymen, Ocean Rain. This came out in 1984. I love this cover. I want to get old pressings of this, but to be honest, the older pressing of this would not be $22. It would be an older used pressing of this would be like 25, 30, maybe more. So I just decided to get it for 22 bucks. And that's it for Mojo Books and Records. We're going to move on to Steelworker Records, and I picked up quite a bit from there. I did get a very, very expensive cassette, which I will sell towards the end. But for right now, I'm going to get right straight into the meat of this, and I'm going to show you what cassettes I picked up from there. And I got quite a few handfuls here. These were anywhere from $2 to $6. Streets of Fire soundtrack. I Can Dream About You. What a kind of a strange soundtrack this is, because it's like, seriously, it's a mixture of like sort of Jim Steinman overwrought pop mixed with some blue collar bruiser music with Ry Cooder and the Blasters mixed with like the Fix, and of course Dan Hartman on here as well. I love this soundtrack. I love this movie. No, the movie's not all that great, but this soundtrack is a total 80s soundtrack, and one of the more underappreciated soundtracks from the 80s. So if you've not had a chance to indulge yourself, please do so with this wonderful, wonderful record. So sorry I had to switch that. Let's see, The Creatures, Boomerang. This is, and I don't remember his name, so don't kill me, Susie fans, but this is the drummer Susie in the band. She's in Susie doing kind of like dance. It's in the Susie world. There's world elements mixed into it as well. This album, Boomerang, came out in 1989 and is considered their finest record. It still sounds like Susie to me, but it's not maybe as authoritative Susie is like Susie and the Banshees is. Meaning it doesn't seem to have the same sort of like Susie grit, but there is Susie grit to this, if you know what I mean. Like there's just like, this is more playful to me and a little bit more sublime at times and dancey at times, and it seems like an interesting side project. Like she did, what was that called? The Glove, I think, with Robert Smith, and yeah. So yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I just bought it on a whim. I'm a huge Susie fan, but not a huge Susie fan, if you know what I mean. This is some great synth pop band called Navigator, and the album called Slur. This is on the Cinco Nation label, which you can see right there. $4 out the door for this. Navigator. This came out in, I think it's fairly new. It doesn't even say when it came out. I think this came out a few years ago. Oh no, 2012. So, synth pop from the band Navigator. Tour meaning T-E-U-R. Navigator, not Tor. So that's the band's name, and the album is Slur. So synth pop. It's pretty good. Um, yeah, I don't know if I want to show the front of this. I will, but I'm just like, as always, when I show this stuff, I'm not. I almost hate doing this because it feels like I don't know. I hate showing this shit sometimes because it's like, no, I don't fucking, and I don't really fucking, obviously I'm not hate into hate crimes and hate speech, but this is the band Zwiz, and I'm just gonna show this from a distance because it shows like this guy's head getting painted with a Nazi sign. I'm not for that, just so calm down, y'all. But this is the band Zwiz, and this is considered like experimental, noise rockish kind of stuff. I don't know anything about this band. I think I want to say Zwiz is from Germany, and I'm not going to bring it any closer than this because I have a feeling like this is going to be like, like I'm going to get shit for it, like, which is, to me, it's kind of stupid, but it is what it is. Cold Medicine and The Darkest Rose. This is a synth pop, kind of dark wave synth pop act from Tampa, and it's off the Pop Nihil label, which is out of Tampa too. Took a total chance on this one. Kind of happy I did. Dark wave synth pop stuff. I mean, it pretty much is what it is, And I love this kind of shit. It's an EP. It's only got 6 songs, but I'm a big fan of this kind of music. And the last cassette for now, I'm going to show you one later that's a little bit more expensive. But yeah, my hair, fucking hair. Pull it back here. This is Sign of Evil, and this is some great like metal, sort of punk, death metal esque punk. It meets hardcore, and it's more death metal than like thrash with meets hardcore, and this is fucking excellent. The band is Sign of Evil, and the album is called Psychedelic Horror. $6 for this sealed. I don't know if this is a full-length album or not. Probably not. That's the only problem is when you buy CDs from this place, it's like there's like 3 songs on these or 2 songs or whatever. I look for full length. I do not like cassettes that only have a few songs, but it is what it is. All right, we're done with that. I got a stack full of CDs. I'm going to kind of go through these real fast. These were all pretty much like all these were pretty much like $1. So nothing of like real high value here. I like buying dollar CDs because I'll just sell them back for that. I have a record show coming up in May. I don't want to be ready for it. Liz Phair, and this is Juvenilia. This is 1995 release. I think this is an EP of unreleased material or stuff that wasn't recorded. I don't remember off the top of my head. I researched all this stuff, but it's hard to remember. It's not a studio album, that's for sure. It's an EP. It's got 8 songs on it. Maybe it is released material. Maybe it's just specifically an EP. I think this was stuff that was previously unreleased. I like Liz Phair. I don't know what this is going to sound like, but she's usually in the indie college rock vein. Some of it can be kind of mellow. Sometimes she could rock out a little bit, but nonetheless, Liz Phair's cool. Disco 2, Pet Shop Boys. This is really fucking excellent. Excellent stuff here. Remixes of their albums, a few of their albums, Very being one of them. And what's the one that's got Domino dancing on it? That one, I think, is the other album. Some of the early 90s albums. And this is the remixes of some of the songs on both those early 90s albums. I guess they made a bunch of these, but they're remixed these. This has got remixes of Go West, the old Village People song. Absolutely Fabulous, and Yesterday When I Was Mad, amongst other tracks on here. So I love me some Pet Shop Boys. This was a no-brainer for $1. Um, keep going here. This got a crack in it, but what the fuck? Aerosmith Pump. Yeah, I like this record. I like this record more, I think, than Permanent Vacation, which I like a lot. And not quite as much as I like Done with Mary's, which is a little bit more for me dirtier. But I like me some Pump. This album kind of was what Aerosmith needed to do to sort of keep going, which is modernize their sound to an extent, which they did on Permanent Vacation, but they modernized it on this in a way that was strictly still Aerosmith. I felt like they were kind of stretching for hits on Permanent Vacation. This feels like they're right at home, and that sort of modern production with the keyboards and a little bit of overproduction uh, works works real well on this. It's got some diverse songs on here, Hoodoo and Voodoo Medicine Man. It got some like swampy feel to it, along with Janie's Got a Gun. Of course, Love in the Elevator is a big track on here. Great songs like oh, this has got The Other Side, What It Takes. What It Takes I actually kind of like. Uh, Monkey on My Back is terrific. Fine is great. Going Down. This is a good album by Aerosmith, and I always forget how good this is. And then I buy a copy, and I remember, and then I sell it, and then I buy it again. The Gray Race, Bad Religion, produced by Rick Ocasek, and Rick Ocasek sort of got this one right. This is the follow-up to Stranger Than Fiction. And the second album, I think, I want to say on the Atlantic label, the second of their major label albums. I think this is on Atlantic. Somebody can tell me if I'm wrong. And this is much more kind of like Bad Religion sounding, early 90s Bad Religion sounding, up-tempo songs. You still get Greg Geffen's voice, which is probably the heart and soul of this band at this point. Still driving punk songs. Not quite as good as like Suffer or Generator, but not bad at all, really. This one surprised me because I thought I hated Stranger Than Fiction when they came out. I hated that song, and I hated some of the songs on that record. So I was probably pretty dismissive of this. But this is some good stuff by Bad Religion. Do give this thing a real proper chance if you can. You will not be disappointed. So Bad Religion, The Gray Race. Going down. Wild and Swinging. This is one of those swing lounge compilations. My brother just told me to buy it, and I was like, sure. Because they're like $1 a piece. I'm like, this one has got Dean Martin, Bobby Darin, Peggy Lee, Louis Prima, Sammy Davis Jr., Keely Smith, Lou Rawls, earlier Lou Rawls, Vic Damone, Nat King Cole. 60s, 50s, 60s, like lounge pop music. Some swinging pop maybe too, pop swing stuff. The lounge and pop music like this was really popular in the early 2000s. So this was released in 1996. Probably in the mid 90s and the early 2000s, this kind of shit was popular. You know, it was for a hot second. Temptations and Supreme's Christmas hits. This is another 1994 release, and another. It's a 1994 release, and it's got 5 Christmas songs by the Supremes and 5 by the Temptations, and they're not singing together because this band had sang and had hits together, the Supremes and Temptations, but nothing here. And the weird thing was when they did that, they combined and they had the Supremes and Temptation hits. None of them were like as big as the hits they had as individual artists or individual groups, I should say. So, yeah, I don't know. 1994, this came out on Motown. So, like I said, I took a chance on some of these, like this stupid one, Harlan Williams with Hilarious. This is a 2000 release on Comedy Central. If you guessed it right, Yes, he's a stand-up comedian from Canada. A little mean-spirited, not too much. Kind of not quite redneckish humor, but you could definitely see him going in that way. I'm not really sure. I know a lot of his stuff. Not quite as like Jeff Foxworthy as that goes, but um, a little mean spirited, like meaning like he'll make in front of the audience. But most comedians do that, so he's nowhere near as attacking or as like Dice was, back in the day. But yeah, comedy record. Mike and Mechanics' first album. This is Mike Rutherford from Genesis. Paul Carrack from Squeeze sings vocals on this. And this is really like pop rock with a little bit of a obviously sci-fi progressive edge on some of the songs. And then some of it's just like total fucking like pop, like All I Need Is a Miracle. But Silent Running, the best track on here. Hanging by a Thread is another great track on here. Take the Take the Reins is great too. And then this ends with a really solemn but beautiful song called Taken In. Real kind of forgetful song by Mike and Mechanics, but really good stuff. 1985 this came out. Kid Rock, Cocky. Yeah, I'm. If you're wondering why I have this, it's because I'm here to say I'm going to sell this. Why else the fuck would I have it? Um, and I don't mean that as a dig on Kid Rock, but I am kind of making it be a dig on Kid Rock. I never liked this guy. Um, Fusing rap, country, hard rock. I mean, this was perfect staple for early 2000s, 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. It's got the big hit on here, Picture with Sheryl Crow. Never been a fan, never liked this guy. I mean, and I don't really know his music all that well. Maybe I'll like it if I give it a chance. I highly doubt it. And I don't really, I'm just buying this to sell it. But, if somebody likes them, tell me why you like them. I'd be curious to hear somebody talk about Kid Rock in a nice way. Gloria Stefan, greatest hits. Oh. This has got hits from Miami Sound Machine and some of her solo stuff. Conga, Words Getting Away, 1, 2, 3, Rhythm's Gonna Get You, Get on Your Feet, Don't Want to Lose You, Coming Out of the Dark. That was a fucking awful song that was used for cancer survivors, breast cancer survivors for women. It was so gross. They used to have a commercial and they'd play that fucking awful song. Yeah, I mean, I just got this because I think I could sell it. And Gloria Stefan's a fine singer. I have no problem with like this kind of music. I just, I grew up on top 40, so this music is fine to me. I just not a huge fan of it. Not like I'm, like not gonna get excited about it, but don't want to dismiss it. Just not really my thing. Like I said, these records were all like $1, so they're kind of throwaway records. Dave Matthews, Every Day, and this is I don't know what year this came out. I want to say this came out in the early 2000s. Here's the inside of it. Interesting thing about this record, and this is one of the few really interesting things, records I bought, is that Glenn Ballard took over production on this. He was the guy who produced, I think, one or two of the bigger Alanis Morissette records in the 90s. And so he already knew kind of, I think, what he wanted Dave Matthews to do, which is sound like a college rock band. And this had more of a rock focus, even though I think some of this still has some of that rootsy jam bandy shit. Some of this is more like a direct rock attack. And I've been kind of hoping that Dave Matthews would do something like this because I've always thought, that he was a good musician and a good singer, but I just didn't like that rootsy Americana jam bandish shit he was doing. I didn't like it. I still don't like it, but I do like a few songs by him, and this might be more up my speed. I don't know. But his old producer Steve Lillywhite, who'd worked with him in the past, he decided to go a different direction. So I'm really curious to hear this. Not the world's biggest Dave Matthews fan, but why not? And I know you're thinking these are common shit CDs, but this is what I bought. Elvis Costello. This is When I Was Cruel. This is another interesting record where he kind of goes back to his rock roots, and actually this kind of rocks out a little bit. And you think of the stuff he was doing with Burt Bacharach, even the album Spike by him that came out back, I don't know, late 80s or whatever. That album was a very mellow affair. And I think there's probably songs like that on here that are, but some of the tracks I heard on here were really fucking good, like Tear Off Your Head being a really cool song on here, Soul for Hire. So I like Elvis Costello. I'm not gonna lie, I'm selling this one, but I'm gonna try to sell it. Keely Smith sings Sinatra. Now, this is interesting one on the Concord Jazz label. This came out in 2001. This is actually newer material by Keely Smith, who I'm just shocked by this because she must have been at this point got to be in her 70s or 80s. Um, Older, she was came out in the 50s and 60s, and Keely Smith is known for uh, singing with Louis Prima, and but she sang some of her own stuff, and it's fantastic. She's got a great voice for this kind of swing and jazz stuff, and her voice complements Sinatra's vocals, substituting his vocals on this music real well. So yeah, on the Concord Jazz label, I'm curious to hear this is all got out, and you could see Keely Smith right there. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, just to see what her vocals sound like, if anything. Don Henley. The last three I'm going to show you are 80s. Building the Perfect Beast. This one was a no-brainer. This is something I could sell. His follow-up album, I Can't Stand Still, and he sort of, what he did on that album was take new wave and sort of enhance that into his sort of, I guess, first solo record. I'm probably not knowing what to do kind of with that, and that record's a little uneven. This kind of, he masters the idiom a little bit in this, with mixing some of that new wave with sort of some of that Eagles penned, Eagles themed kind of music, and does it wonderfully. And this is really the finest album by him, in my opinion. It's got the big hits on here, The Boys of Summer, which has that new wave feel to it, and All She Wants to Do Is Dance, which has that new wave feel to it, and Sunset Grill is on here. Not Enough Love in This World. That's a classic Don Henley sort of mellow song. One of my favorite deep tracks on here is a song called A Month of Sundays, which is basically, I think, about a farm foreclosure, something like that, in the 80s. It's an absolutely fantastic song. I like Don Henley's solo stuff. I'm an Eagles guy, so I'm not going to say, I know a lot of people shit on him, but I like the Eagles. Don Henley's probably my favorite next to Randy Meisner of the solo Eagle stuff that they did. I mean, Glenn Frey stuff just kind of aggravates me. I bought multiple albums by him, and I've never liked any album I've heard by him. It's aggravating because he's got a good voice and all that, but I don't know, on his solo stuff a little bit. Fine Young Cannibals, The Raw and Cooked. I've had this multiple times. It's a good dollar CD. Like I said, I paid what I got is what I paid for, and this is a great second record by these guys going back to 1987, and kind of took in that mature sort of jazz soul meets high new wave approach in on that first album. They feel more. This album feels a lot more loose and a lot more like relaxed, I think, and they definitely have matured to a point where they're confident in what they're trying to do with the material. I feel, because they come right out with "She Drives Me Crazy" and "Good Thing" are the first two tracks on here. They both went to #1, and both are great singles, both fun songs. And then "I'm Not the Man I Used to Be," a gorgeous ballad by him. But there's songs like "I'm Not Satisfied," "Tell Me What," "Don't Look Back" is a great song on here. And then they end this with the Buzzcocks tune, uh, Ever Fallen in Love, which I don't mind by them, but not my favorite song. But As Hard as It Is, another killer track on here. New wave, dance pop, whatever you want to call it. Fucking Fine Young Cannibals were a great band from the late 80s. And the last to show you, and this one kind of surprised me, but I saw it and I just couldn't get away from it. Lisa Stanfield with Affection. This came out in 1989 slash 90, I think 1990. She had a big hit called All Around the World. And so with that, you would think that this would be, oh, okay, this is going to be kind of like, um, this is going to kind of be like a fucking, um, like jazzy, sort of nuanced pop soul kind of thing. But this is more akin to like maybe just straight up a soul kind of feel to it, and not as sophisticated as you would originally think because it's been around the world. She's got more in common with like I'd say Tina Marie than she does like fucking Swing Out Sister. I mean, this is a sophisticated, I suppose, but it's more a soul record, R&B record than anything, and it's surprisingly really really good. A few songs on here, of course, Affection, Live Together. There's a few really good tracks on here. When Are You Coming Back is gorgeous. Late 80s, early 90s soul music, and it's a stunner. This is definitely worth picking up if you see it for cheap. All right, let's get into the albums. I have a lot of albums to show you, and I have very, very little time to show them. So I'm going to scoot through these like as quick as possible. Holy shit, I got a lot of them. Willie Nelson. This is There'll Be No Teardrops Tonight. This is like a compilation album that was released in '78, I believe. And it's got some of his earlier recordings on it that were previously unreleased from the early '60s. So, I'll take Willie Nelson all day long. This one I got for free, so I'm not complaining at all. I'm gonna have to pull some of these out. It's probably the best way for me to do this. Yeah, it is. These first three or four I got for free. I'll just show them to you. This is a funky mix of Freedom Williams, Voice of Freedom, and Chief Rocka by Lords of the Underground. I remember those guys. And two, Come Undone by Duran Duran, and One of the Girls. So, funky mix, 12-inch. One of the Girls. I think I remember One of the Girls being kind of cheesy. This one is Everlasting Love, Gloria Estefan, and Sky High by Newton. Another dance mix. And then the B-side I can't wait for, White Lines by fucking Duran Duran. Yeah, it's Duran Duran's version of the old Grandmaster Flash song. So I'm kind of curious to hear this. So this will be interesting. Elvis, Paradise Hawaiian Style. I guess this was another soundtrack to a movie. Not Blue Hawaii or whatever that album he made. This is pretty atrocious. This is maybe one of the worst things he did in the 60s. Totally uninspired and just kind of directionless, even though it's incorporating island rhythms and Hawaii sounds. Probably one of the worst songs I've ever heard by him. Queenie Wahin's Papaya is pretty fucking awful. A Dog's Life is pretty awful. As I say that, it's still Elvis, and I got it for free. So, and the last thing I got for free, this Rock Superstars. This is cool. This has got some songs by T-Rex, a few by John Congos, one by The Move, one by Procol Harum. It's on the Pickwick label. I like these. So this is a British, I'd say import, but a British release. So, yeah, Rock Superstars. I bought another one of these, and I really enjoyed it. So this is the kind of thing I probably can't get rid of. I probably can't sell it, but we'll see what I can do with it. I'll see what I can do with it. If anything, I'll just give it to somebody because I got it for free. All right. These next stack of records, I'm going to go through these as quick as possible. These, I don't want to spend a lot of time on these records, but so I'm not going to. Tone Poems of Jean Sibelius. These were all $1. These next ones I'm going to show you. This shouldn't shock you if you're a fan of my show. You know I like classical music. Jean Sibelius was one of the father of symphonies, but he also liked to do tone poems. And this is nature-oriented kind of classical music. He was also a nationalist composer too, and one of Finland's greatest composers. And this is a 2-album set on Vanguard. I love classical music. I'll never get sick of this. Tone poems are kind of weird, you know, to listen to, because there is a sort of interesting sort of juxtaposition that happens where there's this like loud triumphant thing, and then it's lulled down quite a bit. And that of course happens in symphonies too, where you have this big reach and then it gets real quiet, which I hate the quiet part in symphonies. This is usually the second movement. This I'm not sure. I have not listened to any Sibelius in a long time, so I'm not sure what to think of it. Saint-Saëns, The Carnival of the Animals, really ridiculous. And Benjamin Britten's Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. Of course, that is him doing a variation of a piece by Purcell, Henry Purcell. He did variations of Fugue on a theme by the great English poser Henry Purcell. Saint-Saëns is goofy as shit, man. I've always kind of liked him as a composer. He did, what was that? He did, oh God. Was it Danse Macabre? What was it that? He did a classical piece, which is awesome. And I can't remember the name of it. Somebody will tell me. And Benjamin Britten is one of England's finest classical composers. This being on the Columbia Masterworks label. I say Saint-Saëns, and I'm like, fuck yeah, French nitwit. Two by the Animals, Animalization by the Animals, which is the American version of the album Animalize, I think, or Animalization with an S. This is with a Z, and this is a 66 release that's got Don't Bring Me Down on it. This album's got a little bit more of a garage sort of soul pop feel to it, not that musky sort of blues rock thing that they were doing earlier on. It still works fine. The Animals were a great band, I think. So I think they can get away with doing this kind of thing. And the Animals on tour on MGM. This came out in '64, while the one Animalization came out in '66. Is this these guys playing live? I do not think so. But I think they actually did do some songs while they were touring, and it might have been on this album. They do a few. This is definitely blues oriented. Of course, they do a remake of Johnny Lee Hooker's Boom Boom, and Worried Life Blues is on here too. Once again, a great band from the '60s, the Animals. I always feel like I see their albums from dirt cheap, and you know, Dino, Desi, and Billy. Dino and Desi are both sons of famous celebrities. Desi being the son of Desi Arnaz, and Dino being the son of Dean Martin. And Billy, I don't know who the fuck he's the son of. This is in that Monkees vein or Herman Hermits vein, goofy ass pop music. I've never listened to the Dino, Desi, and Billy, and this is an album called Souvenir. This Souvenir. And they do a cover of Gotta Get You Into My Life. I'm kind of curious about that. And the old Los Bravos song, Black is Black. They had another Dino, Desi, and Billy album there. I should have snagged it. I'm going up mid-December to cash out on the rest of this. You know, reprise label. You know. I don't know why I buy these dollar records, but I'll tell you, because a lot of these dollar records I'm not going to find in really good shape or for this cheap in record stores because they might not even have it. You know, if they had Dino, Desi, and Billy and my local record store or in St. Pete, it would be beat up or it'd be more than a dollar. And I'm not willing to spend more than a dollar on this kind of stuff. Even though, like the animals who I love, I'm not spending more than a dollar on their shit. This is the original London cast of Fresh Hair. So their version, London's version of the American musical Hair. Kind of curious to hear this. Of course, the American version is fantastic and came out, definitely had some great elements of like rock and pop in it. And of course, soul. It's got long, beautiful hair, you know, kind of a cool song. I bought that original American copy and I was digging it, man. On the Polydor label. I don't know what this British version is going to sound like. I'm actually really quite excited to hear it. Well, as excited as I can be for a dollar record. Somewhat excited to hear it. How's that sound? And look at that fucking cover on this. That's badass, y'all. Look at that thing. Broadway musical stuff, not really my bag, but what the hell. This one's awesome, staying in the 60s. This is Checkmate. This is a split album on Buddha Records of the Lemon Pipers, 5 songs by them. Of course, they sang the big hit Green Tambourine, and 5 by the great bubblegum pop band 1910 Fruit Gum Company, including Simon Says and Pop Goes the Wheel. So great, kind of a contrast in styles. The Lemon Pipers were a pop band, and their record label wanted them to record Green Tambourine. They didn't want to record it, and it was smart that they did because it was their, I think, only #1 hit. Maybe I don't know how many number 1 songs they did, but I think the Lemon Pipers were kind of more of a pop band and had a bit of a psychedelic kind of feel to them. But yeah, Green Tambourine was a huge hit for them. That was when the psychedelic stuff was actually poppy and actually could hit the radio or played on the radio back in the 60s. So I've never seen a split like this. Now I think of hardcore splits, of course the famous Faith Void one. Think of some of the metal splits and metalcore splits I've seen. I've never seen a split of 60s bands like this. Yeah, if I can't remember it. Ann Lloyd and Stories. This is Traveling Underground. Kind of an interesting album, and it's pretty common on the Buddha label. Yeah, that's I'm telling you, Buddha label, Kama Sutra, Bell Records. I will buy this shit all day long. And Stories had a big hit, Brother Louie, and I bought in some of their albums, and they've been fucking great. And they have a kind of a soul sound. They have a little bit of a kind of pop rock sound. This has definitely has progressive tendencies to it, and so this is a very interesting escape away from that sort of soul pop sound that they had, pop rock sound that they had, and quite interesting that they released something like this. So yeah, Ian Lloyd and Stories with Traveling Underground. Pretty cool, like kind of for them an experimental album. Humble Pie, this is Thunderbox, another great record. Now this copy I saw for $6 in his regular section, and so I was like, well, I'll just buy the dollar version of this. I guess I can show that, but I don't know if I better not. On the A&M label, Thunderbox. Definitely not quite as hard rockin' with that big bluesy hard attack that they had on like Live at the Fillmore or Smokin', but this is still like got some great boogie on it. It's great kind of up tempo rock and roll, you know. And I'm a big fan of Humble Pie, so I'm taking a chance with this one. I haven't listened to it completely, just a few songs, and this is wonderful. So I like this one a lot. Thunderbox, and you'll wonder what Thunderbox means, huh? Skeletons of Bluegrass by the Butler Brothers. Oh God. I'm trying to get through these records, guys. We got a lot to go through. I'm gonna have to fly through these. Bluegrass from the '70s, and that's exactly what it sounds like. I think these guys are from West Virginia. Uh, Shared vocals, bluegrass. What more can I say? Um, I don't know if there's a lot more for me to say about 16 Tons of Bluegrass by the Butler Brothers. There they are, all comfy in the snow. Uh, this one is really goofy. This is Festivals of Vanne Glatz, a split 1982 split song festival. And look at that. And look at that. Wow. I want to say, I think this is Croatian music that are a bunch of artists in that area, anyways, doing like kind of world music. Some of it's really shitty, and some of it's not bad. This is a 1982 release off a Hungarian label called uh, Yugoton. I think that is Hungarian, I believe it is. But yeah, 1982. I think this is pretty shitty. I'm gonna be honest, but I bought it for the cover. You know, I haven't really listened to a lot of tracks on it, so we'll see. Um, Here Comes the Night, David Johansen. Nice return to form for David. Not really. Um, with Blondie Chaplin on guitar. Of course, Blondie played. I keep saying, of course, like, of course. Um, Blondie played on the Blue Sky label here with the Beach Boys. And then Blondie did some solo records, which were kind of rocking. The Beach Boys stuff he did play on. He played on this live Beach Boys record, which is fantastic. It almost sounds like the Beach Boys doing fucking like jam band music. And his guitar is really loose and freeing on that album. But this is him playing lead guitar. Dave Johansen is certainly going down that rabbit hole of what would become Buster Poindexter. Some of the songs have kind of an island, tropical feel to it. That kind of thing. Some of this is straight up rock, like the lead track, Here Comes the Night. It's an interesting album by him, kind of forgotten about in his sort of solo career, which most of his solo career is actually kind of forgotten about. And then, of course, he took some of these songs and then, became a bigger thing, kind of bombasticized it, I guess, with Buster Poindexter, which really is a good album by him. This album, Hot, 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 and the song came out in '87. His persona of Buster Poindexter is a really good album full of good music, even though it's cheesy. But some of it started from this, him dipping down that island, tropical, over the topness. Not a ton, but some in this. Definitely worth checking out. I think some of Johansen's solo albums are really underappreciated. Martha and the Muffins, this is great. Echo Beach, being the lead single on this. This is Metro Music is the name of this album, 1980 Virgin. And this is the kind of thing I'm saying about with Steelworkers. Like, this album is better than $1, and it's $1. Kind of new wave. Done. The music is done real well. The guitar work on here and the drumming is really good on here. And this has something so interesting because the musicality on here is so fucking good. And some of it's catchy new wave. Some of it's kind of indie rock meets new wave, or college rock meets new wave. I mean, this is in the early '80s, you know. But Echo Beach, Martha and the Muffins made some real, I think, kind of challenging music for their time, but also really catchy. And this is a fucking steal. If you can find this for $1 like I did, get this. Really, seriously, get this if you're a new wave fanatic. Yeah, Metro Music on the Virgin label. See the Virgin. Because I got so much to go through. This band, I've had this multiple times. Kid Creole, the Coconuts, Fresh Fruit in Foreign Places. Yep, in Foreign Places. 1982 hit release from Sire Records. This is absolutely fantastic. Kind of taking what on the Sire label, and I'm going to say I think he was taking aspects of some of the better, more interesting bands from the 70s that were doing like disco and taking those ideas and incorporating in early 80s dance soul music, adding calypso, sort of soul funk, island, world music, reggae, whatever, throwing all that in there, tropical island feels like. And I want to say, I think Kid Creole played in Dr. Savannah's what is that, Buzz Band or whatever that band is, Dr. Savannah's band from the 70s. I can't even think of their name. Dr. Buzzard's Savannah Band, maybe. I can't remember their name, but or Dr. Savannah's Buzz Band, whatever, Buzzard Band. I don't, you know who I'm talking about. Like they were doing something really challenging and interesting with disco music, and the 70s, and then Kid Creole carried it over in the 80s. Now I don't know if he was a member, direct member, or somebody was in that band and kind of carried over some of that interesting experimentalism and diverse sounds and kind of collaging it together for an 80s wonderful thing. And Kid Creole was on a lot of soundtracks. That's how I remember him being on at least 2 or 3 soundtracks. Not a lot, but a few. This is Josie Cotton, Convertible Music. Now this is why I'm talking about these records being $1. This record, I've seen it in other record stores, $5, $10. This I picked up for $1. And that's why Steelworker Records is the best fucking record store I've ever been into. Because you can go in there and you can just go through the cheapy bin and get this stuff in here for cheap. This is 1982. And I would probably, if I sell this, I'm not selling this for $1. I'll probably put $2, $3 on it. 82. 60s girl group, pop stuff mixed with early 80s new wave, catchy, sort of sing-along kind of stuff. She had 2 big hits on here. Jenny, Are You Queer was a big hit for her. That's a great song. And He Could Be the One is super catchy. If you like your sort of new wave where you can kind of bounce and dance and sing along to it, this is absolutely fucking fantastic. And saying convertible music is really truth. This is like something you could drive around at night and listen to and just like kind of sing to and bounce your head to. It's super good, catchy, fun disco, and that disco new wave music from the early 80s. Josie Cotton was awesome, man. Marianne Faithfull, As Tears Go By. This has some of her early releases on it, along with some songs she did kind of later on. This was released in 1981. It's got As Tear Goes By on it. It's got the great Sister Morphine on here. She does a cover of House of the Rising Sun. I don't know if this is gonna, I hope these songs are recorded for 1981, not just older recordings put on an album. I kind of like Marianne Faithfull stuff as she got along. Like when she started in the 70s and into the 80s and 90s, I thought I liked more than her 60s stuff. Her voice is too good in the 60s. It's all rough by the 80s and 90s. It is too. So Marianne Faithfull, kind of I think this is a compilation album of unreleased or of released material from 64 to 69. Hopefully redone. If somebody knows that this was redone, let me know. So Marianne Faithfull, great. Now the next 2 are I'll just show you. The last one is like you'll be shocked, but whatever. But this one is Building the State, Faces in the Architecture, a 10-inch single off of the New Granada label out of Tampa. And I think this is kind of like indie punk. I think this is kind of like indie punk. Somebody will tell me if I'm wrong. On the Nagats label, right there, Nagrada label. So I'm looking forward to hearing this one. To be honest with you, I can't wait to listen to this one. Kind of indie punkish, maybe, I think. If anybody knows Building the State, let me know. I'll take a chance on this shit all day long for $1. And this last one was crazy because I got it for $1, but didn't realize it was a 2-album set and it's missing sides 1 and 2. But still, I'll sell it back just for $1. So it's half of Travis Scott's Astro World that came out in 2018. Critically acclaimed, interesting sort of, I think, hip hop rap music. Um, Travis Scott, of course, got in some trouble. Here, as you can see, I got one of the records here. It has a record in it, and then one that does not. I did not know this till I got back home. No record in here. But I'll sell this for $1 back, and I will sell it for $1. Somebody will buy it for $1 because they'll be like, wow, okay, you want $1 for it? And I'm like, yes. So I don't know a lot about Travis Scott. I don't listen to a lot of newer rap music, and it's nothing personal. I've listened to some newer rap groups like Run the Jewels, who I like a lot, and Killer Mike, who I think was from Run the Jewels. I like some of that. I like that rap group, or that rapper Dolce. I like her. So it's not like I'm against it. It's just not really my thing. So this was $1 for Travis Scott, which I thought was a steal. Let's get to the end. Now, before I get to the end, there is something I'm going to show you right towards the end. It's a cassette that I overspent on, but fuck it. John Cafferty, the Beaver Brown Band, and Tough All Over. They follow up to the really good and impressive Eddie and the Cruiser soundtrack, which they did all the songs on. John Cafferty, this is a band that was out since the 70s, you know, doing the bars, from Rhode Island originally. And boy, if they wanted to try to go down that Bruce Springsteen rabbit hole, the time was right in 1984 and 85 to do it. And this is kind of like Bruce Springsteen a bit. I'd say it's a little bit more like fucking bar rockish than even Bruce Springsteen. I'd say it's got a little bit more of a primitiveness to it than Bruce Springsteen, but it definitely has a Springsteen feel to it for sure. Two big hits on here. Tough All Over and CITY. This has got Voice of America's Sons on it. That's another good song. And More Than Just One of the Boys. But yeah, this definitely is roots rock meets 80s rock in a way. Arena rock, sort of, but not in that. Well, it's not arena rock, but kind of bar rock meets. Well, these guys probably played in arenas, so that's probably not a stretch, but this was $3. JoJo Zepp, and this is Cha. And I remember JoJo Zepp and the Falcons coming out, and I gotta admit, I don't remember anything about this. This is a promo copy. It was $3 too on the A&M label. And I think I want to say this is like soul infused rock music. But this album has keyboards, mandolin on it. I think there's like it's got a soul. They're a rock band, but they have like soul influences to it. But you know, I'm not really sure. I thought JoJo Zepp for sure was like new wave power pop, but I don't think it's quite that. I researched this the other night ago, and to be honest, because I was researching so much stuff, I fucking forgot. So if anybody knows JoJo Zepp, it's early 80s. This is Cha. So if anybody knows this record, let me know. Promo copy. This one I bought because I thought this was a really interesting record for $4. The next three I'm going to show you, four I'm going to show you, were all $4. This is Philip Bailey's Chinese Wall. This came out in 1984. This was produced by Phil Collins, and I think Phil Collins plays on this too. And they had a single together, or a duet together in here with a big song called Easy Lover. Now, Phil Collins could have put that on one of his albums, but he could have probably put it on No Jacket Required, but I don't know for sure, but he probably could have. But that actually landed on this album. And Easy Lover is probably, outside of In the Air Tonight, the best single he did in the 80s, in my opinion. Such a great song. This album, to me, has like, it's got some really interesting sort of elements of art rock, as much as possible. I always thought there was something very strange about this album. The song Chinese Wall, is great on here. Walking on the Chinese Wall. Photogenic Memory is great on here too. It's soul music, but it's got like this really strange sort of abstractness to it that sets it apart from other records that came out in the early 80s. I dare say this might be the best soul record that came out in 1984 next to Purple Rain by Prince. This is such an interesting record by Philip Bailey. And he sang lead for years, are saying that high falsetto with Earth, Wind, and Fire for years. And here he is doing something completely different. And I think outside of that Earth, Wind, and Fire thing. And dare I say, and I could probably am going to be in the wrong for some of y'all, but this is the best thing I think that in that Earth, Wind, and Fire atmosphere, that family tree that was released in the 80s, including anything by Earth, Wind, and Fire, you know. And I kind of wished he would have followed up with the record. I know he did a few more solo records, but he didn't follow up right away with the record. I don't believe he did. But yeah, this is a keeper. A keeper. Argent Circus. I don't know if this is a keeper. This one was $4. It is circus themed Argent music. Not quite so heavy on that prog, that heavier prog sort of, you know, like that almost kicking you in the teeth with a King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer sort of heaviness. This is definitely more loose and relaxed, and it's a conceptual album about the circus with songs like High Wire and Clown and Trapeze and The Ring and The Jester. I mean, it's a strange album by these guys from the point of view that it's like this band had kind of an abstract kind of thing going for them, and here they are doing something completely oddball, and this is like something I could see like Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel doing, but like to see Argent do this is it's out there for them, you know. Pretty cool record. Oh, that's right, the Archies, and this is Greatest Hits. So this is on the Kirshner label, which Don Kirshner founded and formed the Archies, who also Don Kirshner worked on the Monkees TV show, so he knew how to create stuff out of thin air. And I always thought the Archies were fucking fantastic. It's late 60s, early 70s, sing-along bubblegum pop. There's no psychedelic, there's none of that shit, and which I love, but there's none of that testing the parameters of pop music. It's total fucking bubblegum pop music done in such a fucking awesome way. I've been a big fan of the Archies forever. I'd love to get all of their stuff on vinyl. I'm a big fan of this kind of music, as I showed you earlier with the 1910 Fruit Gum Company. So, great band out of our artist out of Portland, Oregon, and I collect stuff by this artist. I love this artist. This is Touched by Cairo Pythian. And I want to say I think this is a 2015 release by Cairo Pythian. And I don't know how many albums he's done, but this guy is obsessed with synth pop. And he does it in a way that's more like depraved and darker. Almost like the bands he worshipped, like the Human League, for example. He fucking are taking aspects of Gary Newman and making this on a more darker, sinister edge to it. It is really interesting stuff. I remember I bought an album by him called Toy Town, which I could not stop listening to. And here's another album by him, and it's $4. And I have a single by him too, which I bought for like $1. So I have pretty much, you know, not all his stuff, but quite a bit of his stuff already. And I'm always on the lookout for this artist out of Oregon, Cairo Pythian. So yeah, Carpathian, Cairo Pythian. Classic Nouveau. This is La Verite, 1981 release off of the Liberty label. These guys are really hammy. This is, I guess, you would throw into the new romantic sort of ultra fox thing. But this is probably closer to like Visage and that Fade to Gray with a little bit more of a movement, kind of more catchy, dancey stuff. But I'm sure they're kind of thrown into that, but they are new wave too. So however you want to describe these guys, this is really early by them. The only song I know by Classic Nouveau is a song called Guilty, which I love, and that's not on this album. So I'm actually kind of curious to hear, is this going to be like early Spandau Ballet and be like kind of on the dark synth kind of thing? Like the first Spandau Ballet album is really kind of more dark. And the only reason, and they're not really new romantic, but it was just making me think their first album came out, it was really dark. And I'm wondering if this is going to be similar. I don't know. But they have a bit of an art rock feel to them too. But yeah, anything I see this early 80s new wave, I don't fucking think twice about it. I snag it. I love this kind of music. Never get sick of it. Mark, Don, and Terry. That's right, Mark, Don, and Terry. Not Mark, Don, and Mel. Not Mel Shocker, Shasher, or whatever his name is. Terry is in Terry Knight, who produced, or managed, I should say, the Grand Funk Railroad, or Grand Funk. This is pre-Grand Funk that still has Mark Farner and Don Brewer on, Don Brewer on here, the drummer. And they went back by that name as being Terry Knight and the Pack. I don't know if I've ever really listened to anything by Terry Knight and the Pack. And this is on the Apco label, although I think their stuff was on that Camelot Parkway label, which I know, I want to say Question Mark and the Mysterians was on that label. So we'll see. But we're going to open this up so we can look real quick because I'm kind of curious. I would love to get a Mark, Don, and Mel, which is kind of a compilation album of Grand Funk, in good shape. I don't see this in good shape. This one was $9. I was just so curious to hear it on Apco label. Very clean copy of this. So I'm definitely going to sell it at some point, but not right away. I'm going to listen to it. I'm kind of curious. I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. I've not heard Terry Knight in the Pack. I'm guessing this has probably more of a garage rock feel to it than, than Grand Funk's like heavier stuff, heavier bluesy or hard rock. And Grand Funk was, for some people, considered one of the pioneers of heavy metal. And they can get really heavy on some songs. So, I mean, that's not really a stretch to think that. But I'm really curious to hear this. If you guys know Mark, Don, and Terry, if heard this album, please leave a comment below. I'm kind of curious. Two things left. The last two things were $24 a piece, and I spent way too much on this cassette. I spent $24 on this cassette. But basically what happened was I was pillaging through a big box full of cassettes that were free, and they're all like taped cassettes. But I must have grabbed like 20 of them. So I felt like, you know what, I should buy something else in the store, and it was the first thing I saw. So I got this cassette box tape of Marduk with Serpent Sermon. I've never seen a cassette like this. And I was thinking, wow, this is going to be like a double cassette, maybe triple cassette, and I'm in good shape. No, this is just one cassette. And this has the lyrics here. And, oh wait, don't want to do that too much, don't want to ruin that. There's that right here. And the inside has a patch and then the cassette Serpent Sermon. A little too much for $24, I think. I was stupid, but I got all these cassettes for free, and I just didn't want to. I felt like I'd be chinking them. So, from what I heard about this album, Serpent Sermon is a really good album. I think this came out in 2000. It was in the 2012, maybe. It was released. I've never bought on a box set quite like this before. I'm just a little disappointed it's only one cassette. If I'd have opened it up and saw the one cassette, I would say, I ain't buying that motherfucker. But it is what it is. The owner's really been good to me, so I decided to get this box set. I like Marduk, black metal with a real anti-religious slant to it, so can't go wrong with that. We're almost done, guys, because I've been going on too long. We're almost at 110. And this is Abigail's Welcome to Hell, Fuckers. This came out, I want to say, in 2010, maybe. I think that's the right time period. And it's an EP, but it's got like 10 songs on it. So Abigail kind of changing their sound up. They had that sort of dirty black metal sound. They kind of went more down the black and roll thing on this, a little harder but faster tempoed stuff, I believe. Um, yeah, pretty cool to have. And I think I just want to say this is on black vinyl. Yeah, I think it is, but yeah, fuck it, I'll show it to you. Abigail's a Japanese band, and they're fucking great. And anything I could find by them, I buy them. You know, I love this band. Is that on? Yeah, that's on purple vinyl. I can't tell from here, you know, but yeah, I said, is this any good to the owner? And he goes, it's Abigail. And I go, oh, yes, yes. What did I know? It's Abigail. Blah, blah, blah. You know, like, so it's black metal sped up a little bit, and I think they even got heavier and not as noisier as their earlier stuff that has a real filtered noise. I think this is a little cleaner, but still fast and savage in a way, you know. And that's it. That's all I have. There you go. Are you not entertained? An hour and 11 minutes of straight fury for y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I did not buy anything through Record Store Day. I'm going to be very short on this. Fuck Record Store Day. I'm sick of it. I did buy one thing. I'll show it to you later. But my next update is going to be a combination of stuff I got from England and stuff I got local, including one Record Store Day release. I do have a DVD, Blu-ray, VHS haul I want to show you too. So you're going to see a lot of videos coming out in the next few weeks. And I'm not sure which one's going to come first. So thanks always for the continued support. This channel is dwindling, but I don't really care. I just enjoy doing this. Thank you guys for the ones who sat and watched through all this, or even if you fast forwarded. I don't give a shit. It's your time. Thank you again, and see you soon.